All right. Well, I guess we'll get right into it. So welcome to the High Stakes Deals podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Locascio, and I'm here today with Gabe Alvarez. What's up, man?
Yes, sir. What's up, man? How's it going?
Dude, it's been a while, huh?
We made it happen.
Dude, we made it happen. What was it? A couple months in the making?
It was.
Where did we meet, by the way? I think on the gram, right?
Instagram, yeah.
Dude, social media, I'm telling you. Some people, they're just like not up on it. But dude, here we go. Perfect example.
There it is, man.
So listen, want to get right into it. Why don't you go ahead and give people kind of a general idea of who are you, what do you do, what's your background? Bust it out for us real quick. And I've got some questions I want to ask you, but go ahead and give us your little intro.
Yeah, all right. So
put you on the spot there.
Yeah, so the one thing people always ask is like, did you grow up in construction? Definitely not, man. I mean, right out of high school, didn't know what I was going to do. My brother was a civil engineer working for a civil engineering company, and they needed an intern. And at the time, it was filling coffee pots, filling printers, that kind of thing. So 17 years old, out of high school, got an internship or an intern position at an engineering company.
Right here in L.A.?
They were out in Fountain Valley.
Okay.
Yeah, a company called Pace Engineering. And they gave me an opportunity, man. I was just a young kid.
Full of piss and vinegar, and you're like, dude, I can do this, man.
Yeah, for sure. So anyhow, they had a kind of like a community computer that had AutoCAD on it. It's a software we use to draw plans and all that good stuff. So I would mess around on the computer most of the day because there was really nothing for me to do, man. Like the copier had paper, and what else do you do?
Yeah.
So anyhow, started messing with the program. About 6 months later, I picked up really quick, and they were hiring. The company was growing at the time. And I said, give me a shot. And the guys were really cool. They gave me an opportunity. So within a year, I got hired on as a CAD designer.
Nice. And so for those of people listening that don't know exactly a CAD designer, again, you kind of touched on it. So in our business, architects, planners, they use the CAD program, the AutoCAD program, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where they start laying out site plans, floor plans, essentially start building a project on paper. It starts in CAD, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And so that's
AutoCAD.
what you spent the time learning and perfecting.
Yeah. So CAD, computer-aided design.
Okay.
So in the olden days, architects would draw by hand. You still find some of those now.
Can you imagine like the paper, like
can't do it.
See through, and they're doing this.
Yeah. Whenever I see, because they used to come across, our desk every once in a while. I'm just like the patience to do that. Writing out notes and stuff is just crazy. So
dude, forget about it.
So anyhow, I kind of learned on the job. They gave me the opportunity, and then it's just took off from there. So I did that. I worked for that company for about 7 years. Really excelled. I was a young guy. So it took a while for me to kind of make a name for myself.
By the way, I would say you're still probably a young guy. How old are you?
38.
38?
I'm 38,
okay.
yeah.
Only got me beat by a few years. I'm 34, almost 35.
Oh, see, there you go. Yeah.
We're still kind of young-ish.
Yeah. For sure, man.
Right?
Yeah, so I was always a young guy, and then my brother's name is Lewis. He's an engineer. I was Lewis's little brother,
There we go.
Oh, dude, I struggled with that for a while because, again, I had to make a name for myself. So anyhow, that was in 2001. Fast forward 2008, recession started to hit. The company started laying off people. Luckily, I made it to the first 2 rounds of layoffs, but then started looking for another job. So I jumped ship to another company, still doing AutoCAD. And then at that point, it was when I was like, I want to start doing my own thing. I mean, at that time, I had kind of started doing a side business, doing AutoCAD design for investors, flippers,
Nice.
And then did that for a couple of years on the side. That led into trying to get my contractor's license. Did that in 2009. And then I finally left, any 8-to-5 job in 2013. So it's been about 8 years. Been full-time in the construction and ain't looking back, man.
Dude, that's awesome. I love that you started off with that design background because a lot of people, they won't do that, right? Mm-hmm. And so most people, I would say that I know that are general contractors, they start off just working for another GC in the field. Mm-hmm. And by the way, that's great too because they get a lot of field experience. Yep. But the fact that you're that versatile GC where you have that back end on the CAD, which is where everything starts and where most RFIs or change orders end up at some point. Yeah. I mean, I think that's like invaluable and it's probably what separates you from a lot of the GCs, no?
I mean, I would say that, I mean, you hear the design build, you hear the one-stop shop, you hear that, but I really do feel that our clients that work with us do really get that experience because you just touched on it, RFIs, right? A request for information.
Right.
Contractors on the field, there's a change in the plan. How long does that take?
Dude, forever. Because what happens is the framer will call and say, hey, yeah, I'm supposed to put a header here, and it's not on the, something is different on the plans. Now I can't do it.
Yeah.
Let's call the structural engineer, and the structural engineer's out of town, and he says, hey, when I get back, let me take 2 or 3 days to look at it. Then I'll draw something. I'll send it to you guys, and you guys can price it and tell me if you want to do it.
And then you got to talk to the architect.
Because they're going to have some conflict somewhere. An MEP guy, like all of a sudden you've lost 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. Versus you can go out in the field and.
That is one thing, like hands down. We can call shots, right, on the projects that we design and build, obviously. So anything arises that's a deviation from the plan, we can make a call on the spot. Or if we do have to call our structural guy, which that's something we do outsource, and we have a structural engineering consultant. We're on a every day. It's practically like they're an employee because they're always working on something for us. So we can call them and usually get something, resolved right away. So that is a big plus, the fact that we do the design in-house. And touching on what you said about that being a benefit for me personally, hands down, because I learned all the details and everything on paper first, right? So I know what it's supposed to be on the field. So when I got into construction, I never worked a day in construction in my life, man. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Actually, I have a good friend of mine that he was a contractor. I used to do a lot of plans for him. And back then, he signed for me, and that we had the experience. Obviously, I was very knowledgeable. I went to the school to get a contractor's license and all that.
But by the way, I just want to jump in. So you touched on that. So when you go to get your general contractor license, you can't just take the classes and go pass the test. You got to do that and pay some fees. But in addition, and get a bond. But in addition, you have to have somebody certify that you have some type of experience in the business, right? And so you had your friend was able to. So
I had that, which he was a GC, and then the company that I worked for also had labor in house, which they had a contractor's license, and that was verifiable experience for me. I had 7 years of on payroll working for an engineering contractor. So it worked. But
how hard is it to get a GC license? Because I have a real estate broker license. I'm a partner in a construction company, but my partner holds the actual license. I don't need to go get one necessarily, but it would be a feather in the cap for me to have it. And so I've talked about going to do it. But how difficult is it to get a contractor license, would you say?
I would say not very. You got to be knowledgeable in the industry, right? It's like everything. You could study for the test and pass the test. Unfortunately,
kind of like a real estate license. When people ask me that question about real estate, I'm like, well, you can get a real estate license in California in like 3-4 months. It's not that difficult, you know.
Similar. Here it's gotten tougher over the years, so you do need verifiable experience, right? Someone's got to sign for you, but now they do want pay stubs. There's a lot of things you can provide. Like if you've been an owner builder, right? Like you're verifying or certifying your own experience.
Right.
But they'll want to see permits, permit cards, final permit cards for work that you've done. You got to prove that you have experience.
Right.
Unless someone's kind of vouching for you.
Right.
So it's something that's not very difficult to get. When you take the test for whether like us, we're a B general contractor.
Right. So what does a B mean? If you have a B license in California,
the B license, you're a general contractor. You can pretty much do all trades, right? But for us to take on a prime contract, it's got to be 2 or more related trades. I can't, as a B, even though I'm a general, I can't go pull an electrical permit.
I see.
By itself.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be able to. Some cities don't enforce it, but it's got to be you're taking on a general project, right?
Right. Meaning as the GC, you're the orchestrator, you're putting everything together, you're watching everybody, but you've got the sub-trades that are specialized in electrical and plumbing and framing, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and then we hire licensed subs, right? But I'll give you an example. If we pull a permit for a complete house remodel, addition, or a new construction, or so let's say an addition.
Yeah.
Because it's happened to me. And then they're like, hey, well, we need to upgrade your panel. Go pull an electrical permit. I can't pull it. Even though I hold the permit for the entire project, I can't pull that because that's got to be a C10, like an electrical contractor to pull
I was going to say a C53, but is that like a pool license C5? I don't know why that jumped out to me. But yeah, C10 is electrical.
Yeah. So anyhow, there's that. And then the only license above us, it's a license, which they're the ones that are able to do like hospitals
engineering,
and schools.
Right?
Yeah. And public work in the public right away. Us, we cannot work outside of a private property with the B license.
Right. You can't go into the street and connect laterals, right? So that's got to be like someone with an A license has got to come.
An A license or like a plumbing contractor.
Gotcha.
C, whatever that one is.
Right. Yeah. There's quite a few
there's
of them.
So many licenses. Yeah.
Exactly. So you going to get any more licenses or are you cool with the B?
We've been thinking about it. Electrical and plumbing, which are the ones that are mostly, we do a lot of that stuff in-house. So we have in-house labor, obviously. the last 2 months, we really haven't touched on a lot of trades because we've been so busy, and we have a great network of subs that we use. So we don't really do plumbing, electrical we do in-house still. Plumbing, we don't really do roofing, insulation, all that stuff. We just use subcontractors now.
We'll see in our company, Inland Builders, we're kind of similar in that respect. Like, because people ask us sometimes, like, oh, do you do all your own work and you have your own employees, for all these subs? And we're like, well, no. And actually, it's probably a better thing in most cases, because if you have a good sub, they're specialists. Yeah. It's better to watch them and let the specialists do their thing. It's like, going to a dentist and they use an endodontist or endodontist, the root canal guy, right? Yeah. A lot of them sub you out. So like for us, it's like using specialists, I think, allows you to focus on different things as a GC and keep the project 100%. Moving.
Early on, when I used to reach, trying to hire people, I would always ask them, like, what's your strong suit, right? And then most people that work in construction, they say they know how to do everything.
Of right? course. They
So
all
I
say
would
that.
meet people, I'm like, what's your strong suit? They're like, well, everything. Early on, I was looking for those guys because I'm like, oh, one guy could do 5 trades.
I can go get some jobs and I don't have to sub anything out.
Now, if people tell me that, I'm like, next.
You're like later.
Yeah, no, because it's like the master. What is it? Master of none.
Master of jack of all
trades, master of none. Yeah. So that's kind of where it is, and even about having the proper tools and all that, right? And if you don't have the proper tools for the job, it takes longer and all that good stuff. So right now on my team, I still have a couple of specialized guys. I have a few that are. You would consider more like kind of a handyman. They could do multiple trades, but
like pickup guys. That can
the
go
guy
on there,
that's
just
doing
do
your rebar should not be hanging your doors, you know, and you still see that so much in the industry.
You go to open one of those doors and it doesn't actually want to.
Yeah,
exactly.
So that's just things you learn along the way. But yeah, early on I was looking for the guys that could do all trades, and now it's like if they tell me that, I'm like, nope, I want to find specialized guys, that do what they do. So same. I mean, it's the same concept with like subcontractors. You find a good plumber. They have the tools for the job. They have their cameras. They have what they need for the job.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. Well, let me ask you, speaking of like specializing, what is your niche? What is GA Design Build's niche? I mean, I see you all over the gram. You've got all kinds of projects. Yeah. Lots of stuff going on. Very exciting. And I want to talk to you about your social media game because it's on point. But as far as your specialty, are you, single family ground up, ADUs? What are you guys doing most of?
Yeah. Well, for us, we started obviously with kitchen and baths, which most people start with that, right? Okay. And then it went to whole house remodels, then to additions. And right now, and then obviously in the recent years, the ADUs, man. Right. I mean, they're just every other call we get right now is an ADU.
Talk about the buzzword.
Yeah, man, ADU. Well, that's a whole nother topic, but those things make 100% sense, right? So anybody thinking about doing an ADU, give us a call. We got you.
Now, why should someone do an ADU? Because you're saying that they can spend that $100,000, $200,000, whatever it costs, and now they've got this huge addition to their property value. They've got a built-in tenant. I mean, it's
the multi-use, right? Multi-purpose. So, I mean, for an example, I'm working on one in my house right now. I don't want to rent it out. I don't want a tenant. I just want a place to chill, right?
Yeah, a man cave.
And
be a woman cave, but probably a man cave.
Right? And people come over, you have your own little guest house, right? So, I mean, my house is the hub, man. We're always hanging out in my house. People are always spending the night. I have a travel trailer now. We like to go camping.
There you go.
That's my ADU right now.
Yeah, there you go.
People come over,
it's like
they stay in the
jet
trailer.
Stream over there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, there's that purpose for it. It's the home office. It's the gym, and not just that, but it's the value that it creates. And I think as time goes on, they'll gain more and more value. And talking to some, I don't know your opinion on it, but talking to some of my colleagues in real estate. Early on, even last year, wasn't getting the same value per square foot as like the main dwelling was. But if it's not there yet, eventually it's will. It's going
to pick up.
It'll be there. So,
well, I know that we are looking right now doing an ADU on one of our apartment buildings, and our rough math was we spend $175,000, maybe $200,000, and we get something we can rent out for $2,000 a month, and it should actually add about $400,000 to our value. So for us, we're going spend $200,000. And get a $400,000 valuation and a built-in tenant. So that's a no-brainer. I would assume that most of the ADUs around LA are probably similar, right?
Yeah,
I mean, probably a similar multiple.
Right now, we're talking with homeowners that want to do it for to supplement income.
Yeah.
And we just had one where the house is paid off cash, right? It was paid off. No, so I said you get a loan. They got a $200,000 loan. I forget. I think their payment's like $1,000 on the loan, and we finished it. They're renting it for $2,300.
There you go.
They are paying off your loan, plus you have $1,300 in your pocket.
Yeah.
Total sense. Makes total sense.
How come every ADU basically costs $200,000? It's always $200,000. Every time I talk to someone, the ADU is $200,000. That's why I said $200,000 myself. It's always $200,000. Yeah. Is there like a set price that everybody's just like, okay,
all
ADUs
the contractors talk to each other, and we say
everybody
is
only allowed to charge $200,000 for an ADU. Like I've never heard an ADU being like $400,000 or $50,000. It's always $200,000.
Well, the thing is, there is a max that you can build, right? So the max you can build is 1,200 square feet.
Right.
So construction costs is all over the place right now, man. I'm not a fan of the square foot price. When people call me and they say, hey, how much per square foot? I'm like, I don't like to use it. We do the old school way or the legit way. We do takeoffs, and it depends on your site.
And give an actual plan. Right.
But if I had to go there, anywhere 200 and up a foot, right? Yeah. So if you're building about 1,000 square foot ADU, you should be in the 250. But I'm even going to take that back because it depends on finishes, man. There's a lot of things that have to take into account. We're doing one right now in Inglewood where before we even started, we're $30,000 in the hole because, well, literally in the hole.
Yeah. Why? Because
they had a pool. They had a pool there that was just covered up where we were going to build the ADU. So there was a ton of earthwork we had to do.
Did you have to rip all the stuff out, like all the rebar from the pool and the equipment?
Well, yes, because when they abandoned that pool, they didn't do it properly. They just filled it with debris.
Just filled it.
It almost seems like they did a house remodel.
Yeah.
And they just put everything in the hole and then put dirt in there.
So for people listening, how come you can't just, if it's covered, how come you can't just come put the foundation of the ADU and build over it? Because it's not stable dirt, it's not compacted enough down there. It could give way at some point.
Exactly. You're adding all this weight on it. You're just walking over your yard. You're never going to put as much weight as you are with putting a new structure on it. Right. So, and going into engineering and soils, they always say, dig into competent soil or natural grade, and that is no longer natural grade. Now, if we didn't know that was there and we just built over it, that could have potentially been a problem, But the homeowner did know some of the history, saying that they knew at some point there was a pool back there. So we did some investigative work. We were gonna do a process called R&R, like remove and recompact, right? Mm-hmm. So we were gonna go 3 feet, remove 3 feet of soil, check it out. Yeah. We got a geotech out there, and we were gonna just refill that. Well, when we got there, we started finding pieces of tile and just block, and so we kept going, and the further we went, the more debris we found. It was just like,
here we go.
So we ended up going 10 feet down, like the entire yard got excavated, and we had to rip everything out. So those types of things, how can you put that on a square foot, per square foot price? You can't.
Yeah. And so obviously when you give someone a price, even if it's a lump sum or a GMAX, hey, here's your set in stone, obviously you're qualifying that with, we haven't, if there's an unknown or if something's not on a soils report. You guys are qualified. Because that's always my question, right? Like, we do a lot of big jobs. So if we screw up on a $30,000 item on a $3 million job or a $5 million job.
Not that big a deal.
Yeah, realistically, we're probably still going to ask the client for it if it's not our fault, but it's not that big of a deal. But if you bid $200,000 for an ADU and your profit is to make 50 or 40 or 30 or whatever the number is, and there's something that you get caught on because you bid it wrong or it was something that was your fault, that could smoke your whole project.
100%.
And so that's the challenge. That's the challenge. Now, the upside is if you can do a lot of those, you can make a good living in that. But the challenge is, and that's kind of, I guess, part of my question to you is, like, how do you mitigate that risk for you guys? How do you go into these projects and not turn 20, 30, 40, 50 grand or whatever in profit or margin into a loss by underbidding a small project?
Yeah. Well, mainly is making the client aware of all these conditions, right?
Right.
I just did a video on Instagram the other day explaining how in the city of LA, it is now a requirement, like you have to do a boundary survey, right? Like for smaller projects, additions, you didn't have to do that a few years back.
Right.
A lot of cities still don't require it. But now that's one of those things that I just build into my contracts now.
Right.
I'm going to do it. Like I don't want to risk, not hitting it on the mark or having rebar in and then find out you're 6 inches shy of the mark and you have to redo work, right? Because that would ultimately just fall right back onto the contractor.
Right.
So now it's like we get surveyors out there, they stake our corners, and then there's no doubt about it.
So now you guys know, by doing the boundary survey, you know exactly where the building should be or where you're putting it is correct.
Yeah, so a licensed surveyor comes out because, for the most part, we say, there's my wall, that's my property line.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The PL's there. Yeah, 3 feet, 5 feet, whatever. Yeah. Start putting the foundation of the ADU.
And with
there.
ADUs right now, right, you can get up to 4 feet away from the property line. You know, and with additions and stuff, you're 20 feet away. You're never getting. A lot of times, you're not building to the max, right? So you have some leeway. But in this case, with ADUs,
you're right.
We're trying to maximize and get to that 4 foot setback from the property line. You want to get it right because even if you have a block wall, where are you measuring from? The inside, the outside, the center? I mean, you're talking about 6 inches, 8 inches, right? And that's a big deal.
And who the hell knows when that block wall was built, and if they, like you said, if they measured it correctly or not. You know.
So now, so going back to your question, how do we mitigate? Surveys one of them. With soils, a lot of the projects that we do don't require us to have, a geotech or a soils report.
You guys do it though most of the time, or you at least recommend it to the client if they want to.
Depends on the condition, right? Like if we're most of the time, if you're in hillside, they're going to require it, right? But there's been projects where it's kind of hillside, but you got the GPI, which means a gradient pre-inspection, or you got a waiver, right? So you didn't need it, but we may still require it. Like say, for example, that project in Inglewood, it's completely flat land. So during plan check, it didn't flag you need to do some, soils testing.
Right.
But because of the history we knew, we did hire a geotech. They did it. They did the compaction test while we were doing our backfill and all that stuff. So you do some things as precaution, just because, and that just comes with experience, right? You kind of know what you're what you might run into.
Well, and by you doing that as an experienced GC, you're not only saving yourself some headache later, but you're obviously protecting your clients because now you're taking the guesswork out of clients getting change orders, whether it's the GC's fault, whether it's their, I wouldn't say their fault, but it's something they're going to get stuck with price-wise. Nobody likes the change orders. And
they don't like the, hey, I'm going to hit you with another report,
either, right.
But when you explain to them, you make them understand, most of the time they're good with it, or there's been times where I'm like, well, I'm not moving forward without this information. Like we need to do that.
Is that one of the things that you would say is one of your strong points as far as what makes you successful out there is one, taking the time to properly explain those things and educate your clients, and two, which you just touched on, being willing to say no or being willing to say, hey, I this is kind of like a deal breaker for me?
Yes, I do think so. And another thing why I like to use that approach is because what I tell my clients when they call me and they say, hey, I want to build a new house or I want an addition. For me, I see it, I'm like, oh, it's a long road ahead, right? Because we're like in the initial conceptual plan phase of trying to design this space.
Right.
But what I do tell my clients is like, look, I'm here on day one, and the moment we have our final inspection, I'm still here. So for that reason, when we design and we do the plans, like I'm trying to stay very budget conscious.
Right.
And do something that it's not like I'm just going to finish a plan and then be like, it's the contractor's problem.
Right. Yeah.
We are the contractor.
Right.
Yeah. So for that reason, and amongst others, is we try to do the best we possibly can from the beginning. Right. And when we're doing engineering, we're trying to value engineer to save money,
Right.
And one of the first questions I ask my clients in the kind of intake, questionnaire is we got to set a budget early on.
Do you give them like a roadmap? You say, okay, every ADU must cost $200,000. That's what the industry says. But what is your guys' budget? Is it 175, 150? Is it 300? Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, is that kind
so
of?
So it's not that 200 number that you threw out there, but I do start with we need a budget. And when I tell my clients, because a lot of clients, they're skeptical of sharing the budget, right? I don't know how many times I've heard
it's the old.
Well, if I tell you 100,000, you're going to spend 99,900.
Right.
I say, look, for now, you're going to look at us as your designer, and the option we give our clients, which also works great for us, is I'm your designer right now. We're not an architect, but I say we're doing your architecture. We're your designer. I need to know your budget to provide a better service, right? So I can design to your budget. Because if I don't know a budget and you say, hey, I want a 2-story ADU, 1,200 square feet, because it's happened. And then
you go through the whole process.
And then they're like, I got $30,000. I'm like, well, I would have never designed that. Because we get that a lot. We get plans from other people that just completely do not match the budget.
Wow.
So that's one of the things where I don't get very far without knowing a budget. And then we get well, I've never done a project like this. I have no idea what things cost.
Right.
I say, well, we need to start with the number. Because I'm not just going to start designing without knowing what your number needs to be.
Right.
So then there's different approaches. Either go to the bank and see how much is available for you. What do you feel comfortable with if you're going to get a loan? If you feel comfortable with the $1,200 payment, what does that get you? And then that's how you set your budget. So I kind of work with them to kind of establish a budget.
I think that's smart.
You have to start there.
Right.
You have to start if you start designing without a budget, like you're in for a rude awakening. Yeah. Most people are like, I had no idea construction was this. Well, that's kind of what it cost. So moving forward, what keeps everyone honest, I tell my clients, once the plans are drawn, you own them. Like, I don't sign them up for the construction contract on day one. We just sign on for design, and then you're free to bid. And then that keeps us honest. Like, we know your budget, right? So we designed to meet your budget, but then go shop it around.
Interesting. And I think that's a great, by the way, that's a great value proposition. So you're saying you'll help them up front, figure out what they want to build there, talk to them about budget, design it for them, charge them for the design aspect of it because they're going to pay that to anybody else.
Yeah.
And then at that point, if they want to get 2 bids, 10 bids, talk to their cousin, their brother, 10 other GCs or none, but that's their decision. And you guys give them a full bid that's ready to go if they go with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really
great. We break up our contracts for multiple reasons. One is to give them the peace of mind, right? Shopping around. Yeah. And the other thing is, you know how planning is here in LA and different cities.
Oh, yeah.
I signed up to do a job today that's going to come out of plan check in April.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to start that job in April. I can't plan that far ahead because things come in at any given moment. So what I tell them is, at that moment, both parties have the ability to just kind of break the contract and decide. I could say, hey, your permit's ready in April, but I can't start it till July. Either you can wait for me or you're free to go with someone else. Right. And 95% of the time, we build what we design. But there's been the case where we just design it and then they hire another contractor, and that's cool too. That's perfectly fine.
No, I think that's a great way to do it because, it really keeps everybody honest, like you said, and it keeps everybody, kind of brings down the feeling like there's this, and you're talking to them about budget, but as soon as you tell them, hey, well, you don't have to go with me, that should bring down the guard, I think, for everybody.
And it does. That works. I want to say almost 100% of the time. Because that's the truth. You have to start with the budget,
right?
If people call me, there's a false expectation, I guess, probably sometimes about or a false reality about construction costs.
My cousin said I could build one of these for $70,000, Gabe.
Yep.
Come on, man.
All the time.
Come on, get this $200,000 crap out of here.
I get $70,000 all the time.
Yeah.
And I just say, just sorry. Or the other thing is, we're off by $50,000 on a $200,000 project.
Yeah.
How can we get closer to the budget?
Well, Gabe,
we got to reduce the scope. Gabe, we got to go from 1,000 square feet to 700 square feet.
Yeah. How about this, Gabe? Can I just do carpet instead of the tile floors? Will that instead of LVP, let's do carpet. Can I save $50,000? You're
or another thing was just get it to drywall and I'll finish it.
Oh yeah.
I don't even do that anymore because as a GC, we're on the hook, man. You know, and the value, I think, for a client or a homeowner to hire a GC is
have you see it all the way through.
Yeah, you see it all the way through, the warranties, the responsibility, the liabilities, right? What I tell them is, like, once you start getting your own contractors in here, no one's liable for anything.
Of course.
I can't say there's a leaky pipe. I'm not going to be responsible for it, even though I put it in.
Because you don't know who's on site and what they're tinkering with. And then inevitably there's going to be callbacks and all this stuff. And
ultimately, once a client goes through the project and they pay, obviously, a premium or a higher cost for a GC, I've never had it where it's like, man, I regret it. I should have just gone with my neighbor and saved money. Like, that's what we're here for, right? Everybody has busy lives.
Right.
I say, you continue doing what you work.
Let the teacher be the teacher, the doctor, the whatever, right? And
and when sometimes
and you be the construction doctor.
Exactly. Or we work with, realtors on some investment deals or whatnot. I'm like, leave it to us and go find 5 more deals. You don't need to be running a Home Depot and getting material. Like, that's what we do.
That's what you guys.
That's why you're paying a higher price or paying a premium. I always tell people, whether clients or investors or whoever it may be, I go, what's your time worth? Like, if you had to pay yourself, what do you think you're worth? And then when they look at it that way, it's like, so you're spending $300 to go to Home Depot and buy material.
Right.
Like, go back to work. Go do what you do.
Exactly.
Yeah. And most people don't value their own time. They think, like, I had a client where he's I have tons of PTO. He took, I don't know, probably about a total of a month off while we were working on his project. Just to sit there and
hang out, huh?
Just to be there and, like, supervise things. I'm like, go to work, man. Like, save your PTO for something else. Like, we're here. We know what we're doing. If I need you, I'll call you.
Go to the beach, man. Take a trip. Jeez.
Yeah.
Some Chianti.
But we it's interesting. We get all kinds of.
Let me ask you. So where, if you had to pinpoint where most of your business comes from, I mean, I see marketing on social media. I really want to talk to you about that. Are you guys doing other advertising, referral programs, marketing? What do you do? Where does, if you get 10 deals, where do 7, 8, 9 of them come from?
Instagram.
Really?
We're like 100%. I mean, by now it's like word of mouth. I don't do any marketing.
Wow.
I don't do, Instagram.
And you've got what, almost 20,000 followers on 18,000, 19,000 followers on Instagram?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to build that up?
We've had it for about 6 years, about 5 years now.
Okay.
Yeah. So the ads on Instagram is like a goal. It's a gem. It's like a hidden gem. Ads work on Instagram.
So what's your ad
kudos to that.
Dude, I'm telling you. Well, and I've been messing around with Instagram just for a little bit. And I barely have almost 1,000 followers.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell is my... And then look at you. You got like 20,000 and other people with millions. And I'm like, geez, dude, what the hell am I doing? But ads, huh?
So we have to pay for ads, right? So what strategy we've used is, if we're working in Long Beach, I run targeted ads in Long Beach. And I think the way it works is people see it that live in Long Beach and they're like, oh, and they're in Long Beach. Like that wasn't a coincidence, Like it was targeted that way, and that it works.
Isn't it funny how smart the social media companies are?
It's crazy.
I mean, try doing this 30 years ago. You got to put an ad in the yellow pages and hope somebody reads it in your area.
I mean, we still put our yard signs, right? Yeah. We still do that, and we get calls from that, like, hey, you're working on my neighbor's house. Yeah. But Instagram it's the bulk of our work.
When you do an Instagram ad, so do you do like a lot of your videos? And you're like, hey, I'm in front of this project. Here's what I'm doing, and then you guys will actually take that ad and blast it around. Or are you doing specialized ads where you're like, hey, I'm Gabe. I'm in here in Long Beach, and I'm, if you want to bid on your property, call me. Is it more of a like, here I am, and I'm ready to bid on your project, or is it just basically pumping some steroids into the stuff you're already doing on there, and just so that you're like front of mind if somebody's looking to do something?
That's what it is. I think, kind of like being less salesy.
Yeah, 100%.
This is just what we do.
People don't need you to say, I'm Gabe, can I bid on your project? They just, but if they see you enough times, then they're going to know.
You know what's really, it still trips me out. I'll get calls every once in a while and said, hey, I've been following you for a year. And now we're ready.
I've been waiting for you to slip up, Gabe. The whole year I've been just looking at this guy. I don't know. Yeah.
Or I meet with people and they're like, hey, good to finally meet you. That project you did in Silver Lake last year.
I love that. Can you do that for me?
They know so much about you, that always still amazes me, But so people see that. They see that we start a job and finish. And I think that goes a long way. Like nowadays, I think referrals are a thing of the past. I think if they could just see it in real time.
They don't need a referral.
They can go back and be like...
They don't need their cousin to tell them how great you are. Yeah. That's fine. But they can actually see how great you are because they see, okay, all these case studies in real time.
And that's another thing. I don't post anything that's not ours. Right? Like, if I'm posting a picture, we did it. If there's a video, we did it.
You're not rolling up on someone else's project and be like, hey, check this out.
No. So 100%, whatever's on our Instagram page, it's ours. And if you catch me in time, I can take you there if you want, if we're still on the project,
Nice.
We've had some really cool homeowners that they're like, even after we're done, if you want to bring clients, bring them. I still get some clients that want to walk our work, and that's obviously always welcomed as well.
That's good.
But yeah, Instagram...
What are you spending on the gram? I mean, what's your average?
Honestly, not even nothing compared to what people do. I mean, I'll run $100 ad for a week.
So you just do stuff like that, and just all the trickle of the ads.
I don't have a marketing campaign. Yeah. It's just every once in a while I'm like, oh, that video was cool. Just last week we posted a video. Some pictures of a project we finished in South Pasadena. It was a really cool project. We worked with an architect from up in the Bay Area.
Right.
And they had the project published in an architect magazine. Really cool pictures. Posted it. Tons of traction off that. I mean, one post that I didn't even promote. So you promote the ad, right?
Right.
I didn't even promote it.
You didn't have to promote it.
From there, just tons of traction that turn into leads, And it's just, I think, the whole saying, picture's worth 1,000 words, and that's our work, and that's what it is. Videos and photos, just, they're magic.
So one of my questions is like advice you would have for other general contractors. And, maybe the obvious advice is about what we were talking about earlier as far as building and how you're doing things out in the field. But, I mean, one of the things I think you could say to almost answer my own question is what we just talked about is that, get out there and market and don't be afraid of Instagram and video and talking to people and doing stuff like this, because I see so many builders and GCs that are just frankly, a lot of them are just old, gruff guys that, still think we're using fax machines, and God bless them. But they're just, a lot of people in our business, they don't want to.
You have to keep up.
They don't want to do any of this stuff.
I don't. I'm not a pro at this stuff. You know,
I don't know. You seem pretty damn good.
No,
I think
man,
you've done 100 of them.
It's practice. You know what I mean? Like, same thing with the video, putting your face on. That's another thing. When I put my face on it, night and day response on Instagram. People like to connect, right?
I see. Because you're the brand. So you're there talking in front of your building. That's a much better conversion rate as far as engagement rate than if you're just if it's just a video of the building.
I noticed hands down when I show my face, I'll get tons of DMs.
Yeah.
When I don't, it's just like a like.
Your wife's like, who the hell's DMing you? What are those things?
No, so
thirsty broads over there.
Or I show up to appointments sometimes and they're like, oh, you're the guy from Instagram. I'm like,
yeah.
Well, yeah, it's my company. I'm here. Yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, people just think like that's just the guy selling work and it's not the guy that's actually showing up, So it's cool, man. I mean, it's just something we're learning as we go, but
so you're pretty hands-on with that, right? Like in other words, and I don't know how you're set up, but you seem like you're more doing your own, you're very engaged with your own marketing, your own Instagram, your own, like you said, going out to meet the clients. Mm-hmm. It's not like you got just a team of people that just do your Instagram and just 3 more people that just go do all your bids. I mean, maybe you have a little bit of scale because if you're running around, you probably have some people helping you, but you find that's a better way to stay pretty engaged as an owner of the company to like really show people that you're serious about certain things?
Yes, I still like to keep it very real because you can go more corporate, I guess, or more just, but then
just like I'm the talent. I'm just going to kiss the baby. Just tell me where to go. Exactly, but everybody else does the,
But I think you lose some of that connection, which I think it's what people really like right now. The fact that, we go to a project and they say, I can't wait to see my project on your Instagram. Like that kind of stuff. It's kind of cool, man, what it does for people, like.
Dude.
It's cool. I mean, Instagram has been a blessing for us for sure. Before Instagram, we were like paying for leads. There was like software out there or apps that you would pay for leads, which, I mean, God bless them, but it was trash. You were just throwing money away.
And all of a sudden, you're just getting all this stuff that it's like you're just a bid fest. Nobody even wants to. They're talking to 10 other GCs and.
And then now the reason why I really haven't put out a marketing campaign is because thankfully, man, we've been blessed. We're busy, and I feel bad because I can't, serve everyone.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of DMs that go unanswered, and I see it, and it's like, oh man, it's been a couple weeks or emails, and it's like I would love to, but right now we're working to scale the business, but it's not an infinitely scalable business, right? You need time and people, to perform. So
no, absolutely. No, that makes sense. So what do you think the next Instagram is? And by the way, I know we're running out of time here. We got maybe 5 minutes or so, so we'll kind of go through a couple more things. But are you what about TikTok? You going to be on everybody that I know that does stuff on Instagram, they're starting to mess around with TikTok a little bit. Is that not your game yet?
I have an account. Yeah. I just feel like, man, I just can't be the one to do it. We're so busy. Like on Instagram, it's just I have to learn TikTok. Put it that way. I don't know how to use it yet. Even though it's just an app. My daughter knows how to use it. She can probably run it for me.
Yeah.
Which I put my daughter on my Instagram, and she gets a bunch of love on Instagram too. Whenever I put her, she gets love. I get DMs, and so she's going to be on the payroll pretty soon.
Yeah, I was going to say. No, I noticed that with my son. Like, I'll put stuff out there. Oh, I'm in an apartment building, this and that. And I'll drop something of Vincenzo, and everybody's like, oh, my God, I love Vincenzo.
She gets a ton of attention, and she loves it, too. So I talked to my accountant. I could definitely put it on payroll, and it helps the business. I think
you're allowed to, right?
You're allowed to,
You're allowed to. I mean, there you go.
So 2022, I'm going to have 2 new hires, my 6-year-old and my 8-year-old.
Dude, congrats, by the way. So I guess as we're wrapping up here is, one of the things I wanted to ask you is what are your plans for the future? What does GA design build look like? By the way, some great swag here. I got this hat. Let me just put this on while you start answering that. Where are you guys in 5 years?
Development. We want to definitely get more into the multifamily game. Development. We just finally got our new office space, which is going to be ready, and we're going to inaugurate it January, right?
Really?
We're in the process of just kind of cleaning it up, remodeling it, but we got an office space and just scale, man. Just get more people, project managers. We're going to have some in-house designers, CAD guys, and just continue to provide the same service we have on a more scaled, business.
So when you say development, doing more work for yourself in terms of as the property owner versus for clients. So in other words,
yes, both,
okay.
But also for ourselves. Right now we have 2 lots that we're going to develop and keep as a just rentals.
Hey, you know I love cash flow.
There it is,
You and I are going to
man.
be talking about some
there
cash
it is.
flow.
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
that's one side of the business. We have another company called Rise, which is more of a property management company.
Yeah.
Which I have plans for that to be a property management and construction management company. That's going to then hire GA design build to build. So we have big plans, man. And the whole thing is just continue to provide that great service and the full package that I think clients really appreciate. The fact that we can do from start to finish.
Well, dude, listen, I know construction pretty well now, and I know business people. You're very sincere. Mm-hmm. You're very smart at what you do, smart and good at what you do. I can tell that. I think everybody can tell that by listening. And, I just appreciate you coming on today. And I would say anybody that's looking to do some construction work, if they're not working with with us on one of our projects, should call you.
Yeah, let's do it.
What's the best way to get in touch with you? Is it just through the gram? I already knew the answer.
The phone number, the email, but Instagram. My information's on there. So you go to IG is GA_design_build, and just hit us up through there. Phone call, email, or Instagram DM.
Dude, I love it, man. I'm gonna do a quick little video on the story. What's up, guys? I'm here in the studio with Gabe Alvarez.
What's going on?
Just wrapping up a podcast. You guys are gonna love this one. All right, guys.
Let's do it.
Boom. Get that on speaking of the gram,
you go.
We got to do it.
By the
way, you gonna put the podcast we do out to all your people on the thing?
Yeah, of course, man. Of course.
Dude.
So
we're going to have to continue this.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do a lunch or something. We'll get together and talk cash flow and talk about some projects.
Cash flow.
Cash flow, baby.
That's what it is.
All right. That concludes the episode of High Stakes Deals. Thank you very much. We out.
All right, man.